Depending on where you are, it's either Friday, October 17th or Saturday, October 18th, 2025. This is another playoff edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Looking for a refreshing citrusy kick? Go grab yourself a Mountain Dew. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, intern Sawyer along for the ride as well. I told you on Friday's episode, we didn't know when we were going to do our next one, that something really special would have to happen for us to do a late night Friday taping Pacific time. And well, Trevor, here we are.
It happened, Chris. I mean, I think everybody that watched that game tonight, obviously he's talking about Shohei and what he was able to pull off, Dodgers dominance, all that great stuff. But specifically him, it was, I remember the Mad Bum night, shutting out the Royals and doing that whole thing, that whole series for him. I will never forget that. I won't forget this night either. This was truly one of the most remarkable baseball games I've ever seen played.
Well, for those of you that need to get caught up a little bit on it, here's just a sliver of what happened.
Ohtani, did he? Ohtani! Ohtani has done it again! His third home run! This was about as impressive as it gets.
The inevitable kind of happened today, Shohei. Oh my God, I'm still speechless.
I watched you after that third home run, and you mouthed the words, "What the?" Is he a human? Who is it there?
Sometimes you got to check yourself, touch him, make sure he's not just made of steel. But absolutely incredible, biggest stage, and he goes out and does something like that. Something you would probably remember as a Shohei Ohtani game.
I said it multiple times. We're like the Bulls, and he's Michael Jordan. Whenever he goes, we're all gonna go, and you see it today. And I'm just happy he's on our team.
Listen, it's one thing for us to sit here. It's one thing for me, as a guy who's covered the sport for 3 decades, to sit here and say what all these glowing things. It's another thing for you, who got almost 10 years in the show and had 106 lifetime homers and played with and against some incredible, incredible players, to say it. It is another thing for 2 guys who have won multiple World Series with multiple teams, that have won personal MVP awards and are going to continue to be Shohei's teammate in Cooperstown somewhere down the road, to basically be out of words at this point. To me, that's when we all just have to stop and say, thank you that we are fortunate enough to be alive in this time frame and watch him create and weave his magic.
I can go one further. CC Sabathia tweeting out, he's the greatest to ever do it, cuz like he's an inner circle Hall of Famer guy already saying this about Shohei, and he's from an era that like really doesn't, those guys don't give that kind of praise to people, but Shohei is just different. We saw it today. 6 innings, 10 Ks, 3 pumps, 1 out of the stadium. And I was telling Jake this, and I think you saw it if you watched the game. He wasn't messing around tonight. This wasn't fun for him. This wasn't like, he was on a freaking mission. Like when he hit that homer out of the stadium, he didn't even crack a smile, dude. He did his thing, whatever, around the bases, but it was all game time for him. And I don't know, do you think he heard the noise, or was he just finally pissed off that he hadn't been hitting the series, or?
I don't think he hears anything.
What do you think it was? Because he definitely came out tonight and he looked different out there, Chris.
Yeah, I think that he was pissed off with the way he was playing. And in part, I think it so much helped him that he had to focus on pitching tonight. That he saw what Snell did in game 1.
Go back to that, Dan. That face right there when he rounded first base. Look at this thing. First of all, he's disgusted right there. Like, how dare you throw me a 3-run slider? This right here. Great freeze frame. Great freeze frame. That right there is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think it did help him that he pitched, because he saw what Snell did in game 1, what Yamamoto did in game 2, what Glasnow did in game 3, how the bullpen slammed the door shut in game 3, and he was like, I'm going to keep going. Let's just roll. But man, the first at bat of the game. Remember, I told you earlier this week when Jose Quintana had given up a leadoff homer to Shohei a year ago in game 4 when Quintana was pitching for the Mets. and that set the tone. Well, right here, like whatever thought you had, if Milwaukee was like, well, they had such a good year and they just want to at least want to get one and then they'll go from there. It was over after that swing. It was freaking over after that swing.
I mean, it felt that way all series. It really did. It felt like this was going to be a dominant series for the Dodgers. It was a dominant series. It was more than a dominant series for the Dodgers.
And we'll get to that.
It was a mismatch.
We'll get to that side, but I want to continue on because a lot of people are going to say, and we're such prisoners at the moment, that this is the greatest playoff individual performance in the history of the sport. Is that too much?
I will say yes, because he's doing both, and I'll continue to harp on the fact that is different. There's been people that have had obviously very, very clutch performances in the playoffs. I just talked about Mad Bum. I went and looked up his stats in that 2014 World Series. He pitched Game 1, Game 5, and Game 7. He went 21 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and a handful of hits. He gave up 9 hits. So, that was obviously a very dominant series, but he didn't hit. Shohei is doing both at an elite level, and specifically this game. We're never going to see another game like this, Chris. We're just not.
Well,
so, yes, this is the best individual performance in playoff history, and you can't tell me any different.
He's the 11th player to have 3 homers in a single playoff game. He's the first player, though, to also strike out somebody in that same game, and he struck out 10. Now, I think we do have to give some other performances honorable mention. You could obviously go with Don Larson in throwing the only perfect game that we've ever seen in World Series history in 1956. You could go Reggie Jackson in the clinching game of the 1977 World Series, hitting 3 home runs, 3 pitches off of 3 different Dodger hitters. You could go Jack Morris going the full 10 innings of a 1-0 Minnesota Twins win in Game 7 of the 91 World Series. I think that's probably, in my lifetime, that's probably the runner-up. But I can't give it. I was like, Jack Morris, I don't even know if he ever held a bat outside of an all-star game, let alone got a ball out of the infield, let alone hit a home run, let alone hit 3. It is just remarkable. You better remember exactly where you were when this happened, because it's one of those games we're going to be talking about for decades and decades.
I agree. Like you mentioned, some of the most remarkable performances, and we're not trying to take anything away from those guys. Obviously, just incredible stuff from them. But this is different, Chris, and he's just different. He's in a category all of his own, and I don't want to hear you talk about Babe Ruth, because he didn't do it on the pitching side as long as Shohei's done it, and we can talk about a lot of different things. I don't need to bring up, and I don't need to bash Babe Ruth right now, but Shohei's doing it at a time where it's different baseball. It's truly a world sport. And he is dominating it. And I want to say this real quick, because I mentioned this on Talking Baseball, but Ron Darling had a great take during the game. He said, a line like this is usually reserved for Williamsport. He's making the game he's the best little leaguer. Like, he's that guy. That's what he is to the competition right now. And we're talking about the best players in the world, Chris.
Yeah, certainly the last time you would see it, if you were a competitive baseball player, is high school. That's the last time. You're not going to see that in college. You're just not. Jack Caglione was through 97 at Florida and would hit bombs. I don't remember him hitting 3 homers in a college World Series game and throwing 6+ shutout innings. It just, while striking out 10, that sort of stuff. You did it at Crespi.
I was pretty good. Just let me just feel myself. I hit 3 homers in the game. I was wondering. Pitcher. I was,
You know what you've become better at than even playing baseball? Predicting baseball. Because this is the 3rd straight show you nailed it. It started on Wednesday's show where you said the Jays' 8 and 9 hitters had to get it going. and you saw Clement double, Jimenez home run, and that got the Blue Jays rolling. And then the next day, you said, you know what? Here's what's going to happen with Mad Max. In the middle of the game, Schneider's going to want to come out and take the ball out of his hand, and Scherzer's going to yell at him, "Get off my mount!" And it's exactly what happened. And then on Friday morning show, well, Shohei, we talked about how he wasn't swinging a great go. He's going to go off tonight. Maybe you just didn't give him enough credit.
Yeah, look, those are all. I mean, the Shohei one's about as easy of a prediction as you're ever going to make right there. So I don't want to. And I've been wrong a lot this postseason, but I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, come on, you did it. You did it. Let us know what you're thinking about. Plus, I know that there's fan bases that hate the Dodgers and can't stand. Even if you're a Giants fan, or if you're a Yankees fan and you can't stand I don't care what fan base, whatever it is around baseball. How can you not sit here and just enjoy what we're watching? Maybe give me a reason in the comment to not like it, because I can't find one.
There's no reason not to like this guy.
And to love what he's doing and what he's bringing to the sport. Hate it that it kind of happened on a Friday night. Because I would like to hear some of the talking heads talk about it the next day. I'm always curious, because they start talking a little bit more baseball in the month of October, and most of them are mispronouncing names and have no idea what's actually happening in the sport. But when it comes to Shohei, they do actually get excited, and I like hearing that side of it a little bit. So there you go. Oh, by the way, the Dodgers just clinched their 26th NL pennant and their 5th in the last 9 years. And they did it with a pitching staff that was preposterous what was going on. The stats that they had here were certifiably insane. They gave up 4 runs and 14 hits in a 4-game sweep. What did we just witness?
I called it a mismatch, and a lot of it was because of these guys. I mean, as good as you wanted the Brewers to come out and play, they were stifled by, start out with Blake Snell throwing 8, then Yamamoto doing his thing, throwing the complete game, and the best chance they had was a Tyler Glasnow who went 5 2/3 and threw really well against them. I don't know, man. I think this was what the Dodgers envisioned all year long. It really hasn't come into play until the postseason, and we're seeing the roster that all of us were scared of at the beginning of the year. We're seeing it come together right now. And we said that from time to time. We're like, you know what? The Dodgers know they're going to be in the postseason. They're just biding their time, trying to get healthy, waiting till the lights truly come on to turn it on. And a lot of that's just like talk, and it's not easy to do that. It's for most teams, there's a lot of teams that you can really say, yeah, they're going to be in the postseason. But to turn it on just like that, having to go through a wild card series, they weren't really expecting to do that. But here they are, as healthy as they've been all season, and just really they've been dominant. 9-1 so far in the postseason. 9-1, Chris,
and 24-6, I believe, in their last 30. And that kick really started after the Yamamoto giving up the no-hitter in Baltimore with 2 outs, right, on the home run. And then it was a game they ended up losing. And I remember we were talking about it. We were like, this bullpen's going to be a real problem. It's going to be a huge, huge issue. Well, don't give me stinky face, because
I'm just thinking about how many innings they've had to throw and how many guys have actually had exposure. It's been very minimal.
Right. So it really didn't show up much, if at all, in the Reds series in that quick 2-game sweep. Then in Philadelphia, a little bit it did, but it also opened our eyes to kind of Roki and what he could end up doing. And they had one bad game where they ended up losing a game against Philadelphia where Yamamoto did not pitch well. But other than that, I said it in spring training, and I was curious whether or not, or how much it entered into their mind to become the greatest single season team in terms of regular season victories. Like, would they chase that? Would they go after it? It was the complete opposite. They shut it down to the point where their starting pitchers were pitching once a week. That was it. And I knew that I talked to a few of those guys. It didn't sit great with them. But I think that if you look back at it now and ask them, well, retrospectively, now do you see why this plan came about? And they were like, okay, I think probably.
Do you think that we saw some bullpen woes towards the end of the season because they were used so much to cover so many innings during the year? And if that's the case, then we really should be applauding this bullpen instead of kind of dragging them down. We should say, man, thank you guys for, I mean, the Dodgers should be saying, thank you guys for, buoying us, not booing us, during the regular season so we could get to this form that we're at right now. I think that's really how we should be talking about this bullpen.
No, I think it's a great point. I think it's a great point because you can also see how finicky it is to have a consistent bullpen from year to year with the same guys. It just does not happen. I'm not here to call out one guy in particular, but at this time last year, all we could do was applaud Luke Weaver. And we were like, that guy went from reclamation project to the most badass reliever we've got going in October. And this year, he couldn't get anybody out. It just goes to show you that it's hard to rely on the same guys year in and year out, and particularly when you make deep postseason runs like the Dodgers have at times. And it's awesome. We're going to have a lot more time, obviously, to talk about them. Just looking ahead, the World Series would start if Seattle ends up winning one of the next two games. It would start in L.A., and if Toronto wins the last two games, if there are two games in the ALCS, then it starts north of the border, just to let you know. There you go. Hey, based on hundreds of millions of real-world tests, the experts at Ookla Speed Test, they have spoken. T-Mobile is now the best mobile network in all of America, so you can keep up with all the baseball postseason action from the ballpark to the backcountry. Why? Because T-Mobile has the most advanced 5G, the most towers, and a signal that goes farther than ever. So whether you're streaming the game out and about, checking stats on the road, or experiencing ballpark perks with Magenta Status, you're ready to stay connected wherever your fandom takes you. So head on over to T-Mobile.com/network to switch to the very best network around. Well, the Brewers had the best record in baseball this year. They are the first one seed to get swept in a single series since the 2004 St. Louis Cardinals tipped their cap in the Fall Classic to the eventual champion Boston Red Sox. So what does this all mean? Well, let's start with what it means for the team that is moving on in the World Series.
I'll tell you, before this season started, they said the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Let's get 4 more wins and really ruin baseball. Let's go.
I'm really proud of our team. I admire our team. Enough has been said. The narrative has been said many times, but it came to an end tonight to a team that is not only talented, played great.
All right, so that was both managers. I want to get to both parts of this, but I want to start with kissing off the Brewers on their season. To me, it was a remarkable job that this team did. Remember, they weren't great out of the gate. They stumbled. There was a little Pat Murphy, some of his post-game quotes felt a little bit all over the place. They eventually got onto a couple of double-digit win streak runs that helped separate themselves from the rest of the National League Central. They were one of the 2 or 3 best stories of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they won 97 games, Chris.
Yep.
97 games, and you're right. They had a couple of streaks. I'm looking right now because I remember seeing this earlier. Yeah, there wasn't a month where they were under 500. 593, 536, 640, 708, and then 700. And then September, they were 500, playing 500 ball for the first time. This was a team that I hate saying this. Like, they weren't just built for the regular season. This is a very good baseball team that ran into a freaking buzzsaw. That's what this was. Put them against any other team. I think they're highly competitive. They did not match up well against the Dodgers at all. And I don't think anybody, the way the Dodgers played that series, nobody matches up with them. Not a single team. I don't care about the other two teams, Mariners, Blue Jays. If the Dodgers play like that, and get that starting pitching, nobody matches up with them. Now you could say, hey, the offenses for, the Blue Jays is different and maybe even the Mariners, but I think that's what it came down to. I think this team ran into a buzzsaw. They never really had a chance in this series.
No.
It didn't feel that way, at least to me, Chris. I don't know if you felt different, but yeah, I think they put together a really nice squad. They're all returning. Like, who isn't returning from that team?
Yeah. Well, for me, you're not going to get 3.5 hits per game and beat the Dodgers. Certainly when you're an athletic squad that has to utilize your legs in order.
Yeah, but what is that? Like, who do you get? Like, do you say we hit like shit, or do you say, wow, they pitched really well? It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. And
I also want to say this real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they didn't have the horses. They didn't have the starters to go get it done.
Well, that's a big thing. And not having Woodruff, even if that's just 5 innings to start, that's huge. They obviously did not trust Priester enough. Mizorowski, we talked about that. He was freaking awesome in Game 3 where he came out and, had 9 Ks and gave up just 1 run in 5 innings. What are they going to do in the offseason? I don't expect them to do much. I really don't. They signed one guy, it felt like, Jose Quintana, to like a $4.5 million deal, and that was pretty much it. So I think it's going to be a lot of the same returning guys, unless they make some sort of trade, which is possible, I suppose. I think if you were to poll 100 Brewers fans and ask them their satisfaction level on a scale of 1 to 10 on the 2025 Brewers, you're going to hear a lot more 8s, 9s, and 10s than anything else.
You think so?
Hell yeah.
This series?
How could you not?
Wait, did I mishear you?
On the season.
You think they're very satisfied with this season?
Absolutely.
Because I don't feel that way.
You wouldn't if you were a Brewers fan?
Because it's happened to them quite often. They're great during the regular season, but it's the postseason that gives them the scaries. And I think if you're a fan base, you're sick of the regular season. You've been there, done that. They're ready for the next level, and the Brewers have not delivered for them. That's the sentiment that I've been feeling online, and that's the sentiment that I think I would have as a fan of theirs.
You know what? So we got to hear from Brewers fans out there. Maybe it's dependent on if the Dodgers crush either the Mariners or the Blue Jays.
I don't think it matters. I just think the lack of postseason success is really running, thin on them.
Except they won a series against their arch rival.
Nice.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
What do you think the opening day over under was for them? Do you remember what it was?
Oh yeah, it was like 83 or something like that. We ran. We did a TPP on them, and we ran and said we're betting the over. I didn't bet it, but
you didn't think it was going to be 97?
Not 97. No.
Okay.
I said 90. I think I said 91 wins.
I thought they had an incredible year. I didn't expect it, and I've counted the Brewers out for years. I thought they've lost too much or traded away too much talent, but they certainly know how to run an organization. I just don't know how you compete with a behemoth like the team in LA, which gets us to the other point where Dave Roberts led off this segment talking about, hey, the Dodgers being bad for baseball. Let's win 4 more games and be even worse for baseball and all that. Our buddy Jeff Passan over at ESPN wrote a column recently, I believe at the beginning of this series, saying that depending on which way this went, it would lay the groundwork for an argument toward the 2026 CBA expiring, which meant that, hey, if the Brewers somehow won, then all these heavyweights that spend a lot of money say, see, other teams can spend or they don't even have to spend. They can choose to spend whatever they want, and they can end up beating the best in baseball. But if the Dodgers do exactly what they did to the Brewers, then the other side will say, well, hold on. We have less than a third of their payroll. How are we supposed to compete? Do you think now the argument and the groundswell of support for that side of the discussion will continue to crest?
It's ridiculous. I mean, we're on if the Dodgers win, this World Series. It'll be the first time that's happened in a quarter of a century that we had a repeat champion. Miss me. We have some of the best parity in all of sports. So no, I do not think it is. Do I think there'll be a lot of articles written about that and propaganda put out there? Absolutely. Yes. I think it'll be a huge talking point. Do I think it holds any credence? I don't.
So let me just take it from a Cleveland standpoint. And this is not to back the owners, because I really don't at all. But I can just tell you how I feel as a Cleveland fan, where we're, consistently bottom 6 to 8 payroll. It doesn't mean we always were. There were times in 2017 and 2018 where we spent a healthy amount and I think jumped into the top half or right around midway. It would take nothing short of a miracle for the Guardians to win the World Series. And it's not because they're built poorly. It's a combination of their ownership not spending all of the revenue they're taking in, or as high a percentage as some teams like the Dodgers or the Mets. And we've all seen that, that graph on social media, right? Like the Mets spending 93% of the revenues back on the team. We'd all love it if all of our owners spent like the Mets and Dodgers do, but they don't. They don't. And so the reality is that there are fans that feel on the outside, like we're on the outside. And not every sport is that way. It's just not. Like, as a Browns fan, the Browns have spent more money. I'm just going to tell you this, more money over the last 3 years, cash-wise, than any team in NFL history over a 3-year span. And they suck.
Don't you feel like you're on the outside looking in still? It's organization.
It's only because of ineptitude. But for baseball, the Guardians aren't getting the World Series not because of ineptitude.
But they're also not getting there because there's no salary cap. They're getting there because their owner won't go spend the revenue.
That is certainly part of the problem.
So like I just think that in every sport there are fan bases that feel that way. And then a lot of the times it's one player that changes everything. For a football team, you got to have a fucking quarterback. That's it.
Yeah, but there's nobody in this sport that can do that except for Shohei.
No, I know that. So baseball is not like that. You have to have a team. So that means you need to develop players. And we still need to go scout, and we need to sign the guys from the DR. And there is a cap on that. So like, go hit there. Like, go make sure you're getting the right guys there. Go do what the Dodgers did and get guys from Japan. That's where they've been the most successful, better than any team. Yeah, they can spend money, but they don't have the highest payroll, but they have the best chance to sign Japanese players. And that's part of the reason is geographically we're on the West, the LA's on the West Coast. But how many other teams are on the West Coast? They don't sign these guys. They haven't signed 3 of them.
Right.
Who've made a massive impact. So I don't buy into it's just them spending money. And if you think that, you're not digging deep enough. Before they started spending a ton on their payroll, they were spending a ton on their coaches and bringing in a plethora, almost like I said this before on the show, like a private school has 10 kids to every teacher instead of 30 kids to a teacher. They started doing that with their coaches. They were one of the first teams to bring nutrition into their minor leagues. Like they've been doing things right for a long time before we got to this point now where everyone just says they're ruining baseball. They have built an organization that not only allows them to develop players, but like it's just they've been able to take players from other organizations, put them into their system like a Max Muncy and make them good again. So it's not one thing with the Dodgers, and I'm a fan of the Twins, who are very much middle of the pack payroll wise. But I know from talking to people, it's a better run organization.
I don't think anybody's questioning that. But the first thing you talk about or think about as a fan who might be on the outside looking in at some of these teams that do spend their revenues that they take in, they're not looking at the coaching. They're not looking at the food they're putting in the players' mouths. What they're looking at is that Blake Snell makes more than the entire Milwaukee Brewers rotation this season. That's what they're looking at. So whether it's right or wrong, it's just how you feel as a fan. And that's not healthy for the sport. I honestly believe that that's not good. You want your fans to believe that they have a fair shot. Like, yeah, we get it that there are organizations like the Dodgers that are better than everybody, but at least you want to feel like you've got a fair shot. And I don't think that everybody feels that way. And we're going to go around in circles.
Yeah,
talking about
agree to disagree. I think I know. Look, I have been, and I'll full transparency. Clearly, I was part of the players' union for a long time. I got propagandized on that side for a long time. Good versus evil type stuff there. As I'm away from that now, I have I believe, a well-rounded view on this subject. And I'm willing to hear all sorts of points, and I'm fine changing my mind. But where I'm at right now, I'm not bought into that, where we need a cap and that's going to save baseball. I don't believe that at all. That's not my feeling.
I think we can finish this off because we're going to be having, unfortunately, this conversation a year from now, I think in much more blaring tones, if you will, that something better get figured out. Because if we lose nights like the one we had on Friday, we're going to be in trouble. We cannot lose that joy and that love, where for one night, at the very least, it wasn't about dollars and cents. It wasn't about anything except seeing that something that we had never seen before. And isn't that why we all tune into the games? Because we want to be amazed. We want to be astounded. We want to stand up and clap and cheer. And we want to be taken to places that we've never been taken before. And that's what happened on Friday night. And that shit was cool. All right, let's move over to the ALCS, where Seattle was looking at a third straight loss until the 8th inning happened. Their MVP, Cal Raleigh, tied it up. And then we got a little slam dancing from Gino.
Another 2-2. It's another fastball. It's driven the other way. It's got a chance. It's a grand slam.
Man, this is what we dream for, this big moment like this. I've been dreaming for this moment like that since I was a kid. And now I just got it. And now I just celebrate. And now I just got to go to Toronto for one more and not give up. Keep fight, keep staying on the fight, and never give up.
What a great post-game interview with Gino Suarez. I was so happy for him. And this moment was incredible because it kind of took me back to the Seahawks playoff win over the New Orleans Saints, where Marshawn Lynch ran through about 17 Saints defenders. They called it the Beastquake because it literally got so loud in Seattle, the ground shook, and it registered as an earthquake. But that's what it looked like here, where the cameras were shaking all over the place. What a freaking moment.
I think that place was ready to erupt after the last two games, losing to the Blue Jays. Cal gets them on their feet there to tie the game, correct? That tied the game right there. And then Gino, with the blast. They were incredible all game long. I told Jake this. They're the best stadium I've ever heard at chanting people's names. They are chanting everybody's name every time they come to up to bat. It's incredible, man. And we saw it. We went to the home run derby with Julio, man. I remember being like, holy crap, this is awesome. They're chanting Julio, Julio. And now they've done it just for pretty much everybody on that roster. But a well-deserved night for the fans who have just been, they've seen some really fun stuff this postseason. The Polanco walk-off, the Gino Grand Slam. They got to see Cal all year long. But they show up, man. You cannot take that away from Seattle fans there. And it was a huge moment for them. So fun to see.
Well, they were 6 outs away from getting skunked in 3 games in Seattle, right? This is a team and a franchise that has waited so long to get their first ever World Series. They got kicked in the onions in games 3 and 4 where it wasn't close at all. And here they kept it close. And I think that was the biggest story of the game, was that Toronto had so many chances to put some distance between themselves and Seattle in this game. They had bases loaded, and I think it was Varsho maybe that struck out, and then Ernie Clement hit one of the weirdest balls I've ever seen, literally off the end of the bat and it went 1 inch for an easy double play. I was like, what? Have you ever hit the ball like that? You had to have.
Not like that, but I've seen that happen before. But in that situation right there, it shocked me. I could not believe it. What an escape act for the Mariners right there. But it was really cool, and I love this shot. Cal Raleigh finally realizing where the ball is, and just like a cat, man, pouncing on it, clears the lane. I felt bad for Ernie Clement because he's been such a dog all series long.
Like, you almost, outside of Vlad and Springer, he's probably the third guy you would want up in that situation for Toronto, because
dude, he's been
raking.
Inside out swing, putting the barrel to it, like not trying to get big. Got a homer robbed from him tonight.
Yeah, kind of.
You don't think that was a homer?
I don't think that's a homer.
That's pretty close.
Randy did a good job. He finally did something. He did that, and he got hit by a pitch. So that was good. That was my plea to Randy Arozarena to do something, and he did. But yeah, the Blue Jays, I think they're flying back to Toronto saying, we had it. We had it. We don't feel bad because we had to go out and get 2 to force it back to Canada. And that place is going to be rocking then on Sunday night. And maybe we'll get a game Monday night for, winner take all and get to go face the Dodgers. But it's a little bit of a missed opportunity.
My Blue Jays, who I follow on social media, were not happy with John Schneider and the move to bring Brendan Little in. That was the main talking point that I heard over and over again. He's had a rough go.
I know.
Over his last, 20 appearances. So
yeah, it has not been good. So was the thought process, because you got to fill me in on this.
John Schneider said he wanted to show that part of the lineup somebody different.
Yes.
That was the thought process there. And he wasn't going to face lefties because you got the 2 switch hitters in Raleigh and Polanco. He's going to get Naylor, I believe, after that.
Right.
But Jake made this point, and I think it's true. Who in that bullpen do you really trust right now? That's the thing. There hasn't been anybody to come out and say, I'm the guy, give me the ball in this situation. It really hasn't been. Like, they've been trying to make Louis that guy, but he's given up some big hits.
Big bombs.
He almost gave a home up. Was he in when Canzone almost hit the ball?
I believe, that was him that almost hit the foul pole.
So, he's kind of your guy right now. The guy that puts the fires out, and I don't think he's been great either. So, I think it's fair to question that move. And if I'm the manager, I'm not bringing him in, but he doesn't really have somebody that you really trust out there.
That's the problem, right? Were you going to go to Fluharty if you want a lefty? I don't know if that's the right answer. You're not going to go to Hoffman, although you could have, I suppose. He hasn't pitched very much. I know he was in game 4 to get.
Yeah, in the 8th, it is kind of, if you sign this guy,
I know
that's the lane. You have a lead in the 8th. That's where you would go. So I guess that's the move, but he didn't feel that way.
But let's be honest. It's still Jeff Hoffman. It's not Trevor Hoffman.
Agreed.
Okay. I get it, Toronto fans. Seattle fans, how we doing? You excited?
Oh, they're excited.
They want a place. I know that travel day sucks. I've been in this position where you're 1 win away. You're like, oh my God, can we just do this game already? Damn it.
Can we admit that either one of these World Series matchups is awesome?
I hope so.
Oh wait, you're thinking the Dodgers might just run it?
I don't know.
I mean, they're going to be.
I'll reserve.
They're not going to play for a freaking week. Do you remember what happened last year? Same thing, where they said they just hung out at the ballpark all day long together because they didn't want to lose the mojo. They're going to have to do that again. It's a week between games for them. And if they're going to host on Friday, if the Mariners end up winning, they're just going to be practicing at home and
well, it's not Friday. When's the series start? Is it Wednesday?
I think it's Friday.
No, it's not a full week.
Yes.
Sawyer, can you
I'll look it up right now.
Put that in there. I don't think the World Series starts that late. That sounds really, really late.
Friday, game 1, October 24th.
My goodness. Holy
So they're gonna be at the ballpark just hanging.
Okay.
That's what they do.
Interesting. Let's get to the kind of the sidebar. We don't know exactly what's going on with George Springer. He took a ball to the kneecap, and it got ugly here. Courtesy of Brian Wu, who was pitching for the first time in this series and first time in a month. X-rays negative, which is good. It sounds like there's no structural damage, although they're going to have more testing when they get back to Toronto. His availability at this point, we don't know. He had to leave the game, obviously. Here is his skipper post-game.
George is about as tough as they come, and, I think he'll have to really, really be hurting to not be in the lineup on Sunday. So we'll see how he is. On that note, I know this is an awesome atmosphere to play in. And it's really, really cool to play here. And I think the fans that were booing him should take a look in the mirror and understand what kind of player he is. And I'll stop there, because when a guy gets hit in the knee and is in obvious pain and you have 40,000 people cheering, not the right thing to do.
Your thoughts?
Agreed. Like, hard agree. I mean, you know my feeling on this. Look, I was on the field for 2017 when the Astros were doing their thing. And if you don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know if you're listening to this show, but that's why they're booing, because he's part of the Astros scandal. Again, played against the Astros, 2 different teams that year. So I probably my last time that I could have made the playoffs was playing for the Rays that year, and we played against them, and they were using the system, okay? George Springer was still not, like, he wasn't the ringleader. He was still a young-ish player taking advice from the true veterans on that team. I don't hold any of the younger guys accountable. I hold the older guys accountable for that. I hold the manager accountable for that. So I've like come to peace with that and forgiven all those guys that were young. The Bregmans, the Springers, the Altuves, all of that. Did they partake? Yes. Was it wrong? Yes. But my blame lies on, the Beltrans, the Brian McCanns, I believe he was on the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put anybody on blast. And the AJ Hinches, the Alex Coras, like all those guys. Like, that's who I blame, not the young guys on the team.
Even if you still harbor ill will toward any of those Astros, and that's certainly right, why in the world would you cheer when somebody gets hurt? I don't understand it.
Dude, I mean, Chris, you've been in this state. You've been in these stadiums. Like, dude, following Carlos Correa around, oh my gosh.
I get all that.
It's like he is a murderer.
I understand that. But we're talking about something different here. This is a guy who is laying on the ground and you're cheering. Now, Schneid's was a little excessive when he said 40,000 fans were cheering. It wasn't close to that. But it certainly, I'm sure it felt like it, because even if you only hear 10 or 100 of the fans that are cheering or whatever number, you're like, what the F? Like, why are those people cheering while he's down? And listen, there's drunk people there that I'm sure were cheering. Maybe some of them weren't inebriated. I don't know exactly. I saw some really interesting things on social media, including some guy who is a sports director in Seattle, who put out a tweet saying, well, if you're going to hit anyone with a fastball, dude, really? Like,
it's just,
you had to think about it and then hit send. That's not some dude who's 6 deep going, yeah. That is something else. And I'll just tell you this. If I were your boss, I'd bring you in the office. I wouldn't fire you, but I'd be like, what do you do? Now, we've all done stupid stuff. We've all typed silly stuff. We've all said silly stuff on this side of the microphone. It happens. It happens, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Definitely not. But, man, let's get a grip here for just a second. Let's get a grip.
The worst part about that tweet is he #Mariners it.
Yeah. By the way, the Astros didn't steal shit from the 78 and 84 Mariners in 2017. So let's make that point very clear on top of it.
Oh man, those freaking 2017 Astros. Look,
Hey.
I'm mad. I was very mad. Very
we
mad.
don't
But
need to rehash that side
I've
of it.
thought about this a lot, people. And there's people to blame and people not to blame.
I hope that George Springer's healthy, and I hope he goes deep in Game 6 and limps around the bases. I hope, and because I want to see Game 7 on Monday, because I like more baseball.
Okay.
But I'd love to know if maybe there were any Mariners fans that were there cheering that when that happened. You can give us a reason why in the comments. I'm not going to destroy you, but maybe we'll be a little bit better as a society. Maybe a little bit. Do we have a Game 7 Monday?
Starters are Gilbert and Yasavage.
Hmm?
Yeah, we got a Game 7.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I want
Toronto's going to be rocking.
it. Yeah, it is. It's going to be. And we deserve it because you know what? Games 1 and 5, incredible. Games 2, 3, and 4, not so great. Let's make some more memories. Shohei Ohtani, thank you. We appreciate it. We weren't going to do this show.
Yeah, you got us working overtime, Shohei.
I was at dinner when I texted you guys. I was like,
I was on the
think we gotta
couch.
do that.
Olivia all of a sudden came home from school, and I had like 10 kids at my house.
From school. What do you guys do? Night school on Fridays?
No, it was like a play date, but each kid
Oh.
had like 4 or 5 friends over. All of a sudden, I'm trying to watch
Good.
ball, and I got screaming kids everywhere. It was nice.
All right. Listen, we appreciate it. We are going to be back on Monday morning, either going over how Seattle has made its first ever World Series or going over how we've got Game 7 in the ALCS. Leave us a comment. What's going to happen and who's going to – hell, you need to give us a prediction. You're on a run.
Ooh. Okay, for Sunday's game,
Yes, let's go.
I think Cal Raleigh hits a home run late to either tie the game or put the Mariners up, and then Vladdy one-ups them to win the game.
Oh, I hope you're right. I can't wait. I cannot wait. All right. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our awesome intern, Sawyer, that is the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you bright and early Monday morning for another playoff edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by Mountain Dew Baja Blast.